I'll just highlight what is the main takeaway from the session in the beginning so that you guys understand. This session is for people who've been, let's say, in acquisition, in branding, in product, in other parts, and they're figuring out, okay, why should retention be even an alternate career option? Second, this is also for people who've been in retention for the last 1.5, 2 years, 3 years, and are figuring out, okay, why should I continue in retention and not be in product, in tech, in BI, or in some other department within your company? Why? Again, I am also, and I agree to be a part of this session because I started my career with retention. Back in 2012, I was leading email marketing for Foodpanda. Those of you who are old enough to remember Foodpanda in the first place. Started with email, understood, and that also, again, ironically, was acquire new customers. But then at that time, I think data security was not that big of a consideration in India in itself. You could have email IDs from your friends, etc., and there was like too much happening back in the day. Thankfully, now it's reduced. But started from email marketing, got into SMS as a channel because that was the next step. Then mobile apps started coming in India in 2014-15. Again, started looking at acquisition first, and then started going very deep into retention in terms of, okay, how do you get orders? How do you get people to come back? Slowly and slowly, there were competitors coming in the market. There was Just Eat. At that time, there also used to be someone called Tasty Khana. Then Swiggy came in, Tiny Owl came in, then Zomato came in. So the focus of the company also moved from acquisition and then to retention. Why? Because at the end of the day, you only have so much money to burn. Ultimately, you need to go EBITDA positive to show a bottom line or to show a track towards the bottom line. That's, I think, still a relevant conversation even now. But I still feel that there has been a decent shift towards being an EBITDA positive business, purely from an investor mindset also. So this, again, as I said, session is for people who want to be part of that journey where you are probably in a less sexier function as compared to acquisition or tech or product marketing. And forgive me for using the word sexy, but or less lucrative or whatever you call it. But again, these are the people who are getting customers back. These are the people who are getting ROI. These are people who are ensuring that there is EBITDA positive businesses that operate in India and throughout the world. So this is what an amazing career path could look like. L1, I just named it like this. L1 is people who've just started. These are people who typically be understanding or learning how does email marketing work, how does SMS work, how does push notifications work, etc., and how to send them, how to use tools like WebEngage in the first place. These are people fresh out of colleges or just joining your retention team from some other department. The salary range that you're looking at is 5 to 8. This is now, I think when I started, this was 2 to 3, but I think now it's rapidly grown, and I think this is one place where it's very difficult, or this is one place where it's very difficult to find talent right now. These are people who've done retention. These are people, I've not say done retention. There is a difference that I would say between CRM and retention, and I'll tell you why. But these are people who've done the operational part of it for the last 1.5 years. They understand what they're doing, but they don't understand why they're doing. The step up from this to this is, if you also start understanding why you are doing what you're doing, why are you sending a notification on day 1, what is the content that is being sent on day 1, why you are sending something on day 3. You start thinking about those things, why I'm doing this, why not to send it at 11, why to send it at 9 a.m. When am I getting better CTRs? When am I getting better open rates? When am I getting better conversions? So these are people who are now slightly tenured, started getting double-digit salaries, started getting offers from other companies because now they would probably now suddenly be in the top 10 percentile of retention folks in India, because retention has not been a very, as I said, lucrative function for the last 10 years for people to just be like, acha, main 10 saal retention hi karunga. The next logical part again is to start managing a team, start leading those conversations when it comes to retention. Okay. And this is the part where you start getting into numbers, and this is not 3 to 5. Good people would be there in a 3 to 4 year bracket or even lesser. Where you also start thinking about, okay, this is the revenue that I'm getting, this is how I'm contributing to business, this is how I'm going to upsell, this is how I'm going to cross sell. So a lot of numbers come into the play during 2 to 4 years. Retention again is a combination of, and I'm sure a lot of tenured people are here, but for the newer ones, retention is a combination of content and numbers. So if you mastered the art of content in the first 2 years, then start looking into number, and vice versa. If you mastered the art of numbers in the first 2, 3 years, then start looking into content. Because otherwise, the moment you come here, which is this part, I have personally seen, interviewed, met a lot of good guys who are leading retention, but are very, very, very focused or biased towards one part of it. Either they're amazingly good at numbers, so they would cohort the shit out of everything. Like, this is the problem statement. And I will then go to the product guy and say, this is the feature that I want to build to solve a pain point for this cohort. But eventually, when you ask them, okay, now you've created a feature, how do you market it to the user? How does the user know that a feature exists in the first place? That is where they'll be like, yeah, I need the content team's help to do something, to figure out what I've already figured out, but just to communicate it to the customer. But as long as you don't understand that part of retention, you'll not be able to be a great retention lead. You'll be a good retention lead, you'll be a good retention guy, people would rely on you. And similarly, the other way around, you're very good at communication, you've improved CTRs wherever you've gone, you've done personalization, you've done whatever it took to improve communication visually at a cohort level at everyone, but at the same time, you have no understanding of numbers, or you have a very little understanding of numbers, and you're always dependent on the data guy to give you those insights for you to start actioning on it. So for you to be, or for someone to be a well-rounded retention lead, the expectation is that you start contributing to the business from the time there is a problem statement. From the time there are cohorts in the first place, you identify the problem for a cohort, you talk to the product guy, talk to the tech guy, get a feature built out, or get some product intervention done in, and then be at a stage where you're also able to market it well. What also happens is, and this is where I've just kept it separate here, what also happens is that you launch a feature. You've launched a feature, great. 3% of your user base is now trying the feature, which is also a good number. But then how do you take the 3% to 10%? How do you improve the engagement on that feature? Is where product marketing comes in. I come from gaming where there is a very big overlap between retention and product. What if there is a minor change in product, it will hit my retention rates. If there is a minor change in how I do my retention, it will again impact product metrics. And there is a very healthy, sometimes unhealthy competition going on between product, or conversations between product and marketing here. You've acquired bad users, or you're not doing your marketing properly, and that is why my retention is down, or my metrics are down. And at the same time, market is like, you're not doing your job properly. I'm getting good customers, but you are not able to hold them. So if there is a person who's responsible for both, the conversation ends, because that person is responsible for the entire journey. And what also happens is that because you have this, you are right now, or if you have this currently, you're right now in the top, I don't know, 0.5 percentile or top 1 percentile of retention marketers, because that is how difficult, but also that is also how time consuming this whole journey is. You cannot be here in year 2 or year 3. If you are there, then great. But if you're not, then this is one way to go about it, is that you also try and handle product marketing and retention. And why product marketing is because, and that is the hard truth, I know I'm speaking at a retention conference organized by WebEngage, but the moment I wake up, I have 20 notifications. And I'm sure all of you have. The easiest thing that I do is I click on clear all, and it goes away. But there are people who put in so much effort into understanding that, okay, this is my guy, I will send him or her that notification at this time, with this content, with this image, It'll give me brilliant CTRs, but then eventually nothing moves. And I'm sure you've all been there when nothing moves. You send an SMS, push notification भेज दिया, उसने uninstall भी कर दिया because you've sent so much push notifications. So there is like a certain percentage of metrics that you can move by sending notifications, email, SMSs. Eventually, you also have to get into the product to do some in-product interventions, because otherwise the guy is gone. The customer is gone, he does not care. And honestly, not all notifications are brilliant. A lot of notifications are cookie cutter notifications. Get X percentage off, get this cashback, today is the sale, आज extra sale है, कल extra sale होगा. Eventually the products will be the same. When you click on and open the products are the same. उतना ही discount है, उतने जूते पर ही. And this has happened to me, so that is why this is also a personal rant. But this is where you want to be, and this right now is, I would say, the most valued combination in the market when someone is looking at hiring a retention leader, is that they're not interested in hiring someone who can operate their CRM. You have tools now. I come from a time where when we were at Foodpanda and doing notifications, and Ankur was there for 40 countries. So I had to create D1 journey 40 times. So my control C, control V on WebEngage was not there. Then I had to do a D2 journey 40 times, then a D7 journey 40 times. And then eventually, बीच में एक sale आ जाता था. So I had to pause all these journeys and then create another journey 40 times. But now it's, again, there are tools that you're expected to learn here and here. So यहाँ पे there is no bragging right कि मुझे I can create beautiful journeys. That is not a bragging right anymore. The bragging right is that my team might not need to make so much effort on notifications and emails and SMSs because I'm doing a lot of in-product interventions. That is the guy that you need. An eventual goal, I think everyone who starts in marketing has his dream time, मेरा था बचपन से, for me to be a CMO. And I think that's where you want to be. Why? Now even a CMO is an option that you can succeed at, because again, as I said earlier, all CMOs used to either be from an acquisition heavy background, because even the companies realize that I need growth in the beginning. So those are the guys who got a lot of time and attention from everyone, from every department, because growth was of importance. Right now, I think the mindset has shifted to EBITDA being of importance. So this, again, is a very valid career option. And the salaries, I think this is even 6 months ago, salaries are through the roof. For retention, especially because there are less number of people in the market, is what I would say. Again, this is what I said. There is a lot of talent supply crunch. And when there is a supply crunch, obviously the only thing that people can do is to pay better, pay more, give more or invest more in you as an organization, because the demand for retention has grown a lot in the last 1.5 years and will go up. It was always up in gaming. Why? Because gaming, in fact, CRM started as a concept from the casinos in Las Vegas. That is how CRM started in the first place, because you had whales and you had to treat them very well. That is how the whole concept of retention came into being in the first place. So for us, in any case, retention, product, etc. is very important. But even for people outside of gaming, this is now the new reality, is that you need to be an EBITDA positive business, and for that you need to be good. You need to have a great retention team. Yeah. So as I said, retention is numbers plus communication. Again, good retention guys would have, or people, sorry, would have all of this. You have your left brain where your data crunching ability is very, very, very important. If you can do this, or people who can do this are sitting on a gold mine as of now, because now you're not dependent on people to give you data. You already have a working knowledge of SQL, but again, this is not mandatory, but it's great if you can do that. I personally cannot, but if people can do that, that's great. Understanding of tools like WebEngage, I think a lot has been said about that. ability to deep dive into cohorts, because if you don't know who you're targeting, then there's no point sending notifications to 100% of the user base. Competitive analysis benchmarking, I don't like a lot of sectors in India who are mature enough have only 2 or 3 people playing in the market. And then you have B2C brands, let's say in e-commerce, but let's say in edtech, in gaming, in 1 or 2 more sectors, you have at least 10 people vying for the number 1 or the number 2 or the number 3 space. Are you doing your competitor analysis enough? Are you benchmarking enough? If someone else's in product journey doing better than yours, is the first user experience journey better than yours, is the onboarding better than yours? Are you targeting people who've been with you for the last 1 year? Are you taking care of them properly? So all of these things from the hard skills point of view are very important. And again, from the right brain perspective, this is one point that a lot of, again, as I said, currently good retention guys miss, is customer or consumer empathy. How many people right now in the room are in retention marketing? Cool. How many people talk to their customer care executive or agent or leader every day? Almost every day, right? How many people have institutionalized the process of talking to their customer care executive or agents or lead every day? That's great, because Bharat is also in gaming. So he understands the. So what happens is that while you are championing everything that the customer stands from, you probably are attending one meeting a week or a month, which is again scheduled in your calendars by the customer care team or the customer success team or customer experience team. But now you're dependent on what they are telling you. Are you directly talking to consumers? Probably that is too time consuming, but are you doing that at the monthly level? If you're not doing that, then the customer care team is your best friend as a retention guy. So if, for example, in our company, what we do is we have a daily scrum. And I'm sure there is for a lot of you guys. But that daily scrum, the first thing that we talk about are live issues. Live issues are issues that have been raised by 3 or more people. Because if 3 or more people have taken the pain to raise it as an issue, probably 30 people are facing it. So we've, in a way, institutionalized the process of talking to our customer care team. Because they come up with an issue, and then no matter if it's Saturday, Sunday, Holi, Diwali, etc., someone has to be on the floor to fix that issue, because then that becomes a live issue. It's marked in red. An email goes out to all the key stakeholders in the company, and it's marked in red and said, okay, this is the live issue, this is what we need to solve. And a lot of good consumer insights come from this. From a product standpoint also, they know what to build, they know what the next feature is. From a retention standpoint, I know what I need to communicate to the user. How you face this issue, this is what we're doing about it. Flair for communication, again, be a good numbers guy, be a great numbers guy, that's great. But then understand what you're talking, don't write. So our TG is male skewed, heavily male skewed, 30 plus or 35 plus, between 30 to 50 in tier 2 and tier 3 in India. Now the earlier communication head, great guy, love him to death personally, but used to send Game of Thrones references to the TG. We football World Cup chal raha hai, we'll send something around that, etc., etc. Now there's this guy who's sitting in some village in Tamil Nadu, does not understand Game of Thrones. So there's no point being or trying to be cool ki nahi, acha, I've sent something with a Game of Thrones reference or a French reference. If the guy sitting there is watching some Tamil movie on Hotstar, like send him a Puspa reference and he'll get it, right? But they just don't send a Game of Thrones reference. So in the point of just being cool and being in, don't send random notifications to the people that you're talking to. Again, creative understanding, I think that is all basic right now, that you need to understand what you're sending in an image. Ability to work with cross-functional teams, I think this is where a lot of egos clash, heads get banged against the wall. अच्छा इसको मेरी बात नहीं समझ आ रही, उसको मेरी बात नहीं समझ आ रही. I'm just saying. So I'll give you one example. I saw retention going down for a particular cohort. D1 to D7 cohort, people who've just registered on the product. Now I go to the product team and I'm like, yeah, the retention is going down. Can we do something about it? I have XYZ hypothesis. The product guy comes in and says, your organic retention is great, your paid marketing retention is down, and that is why I cannot do anything about it. But now, are you in a position to confront, have those hard discussions, and communicate, and get that guy on board to solve a problem or not? That is just one example. I'm sure a lot of you face that with product, with tech, internally within marketing also. You're talking to the acquisition guy and saying, yeah, you're giving me shitty traffic. My retention is going down. So this again becomes very, very, very important. But just talking versus getting their buy-in becomes a very big part of who the retention lead or the CRM head or the CMO is. Tools, again, cross-channel CRM tools like WebEngage. There is Tableau, which becomes very, very, very important, or any other data visualization tool that you guys are working with. GA for people who don't have apps, or mostly web-based, mobile-based. Excel and like this very simple email creation tool. Won't spend a lot of time on this. Do we need to go with this or do we stop right now?
Hey, so this is actually our only session which I'm making sure I attend fully, simply because it's a topic very close to our hearts. Because, like he said, so I run marketing for WebEngage, by the way, now for the last 8 months. But my life with CRM started around the same time as him, and I was running CRM for randomly one fine day. I was told I was part of Rocket Internet in India, and I was told go build Jabong CRM. Jabong at that time was spending insane amount of money on acquisition, really good money. And the CRM stash had to be built from scratch. So I built a pretty good job at it. Rocket said, okay, come to Berlin. Let's do it for Foodpanda globally, 45 country operation. Should be fun. So Bharat was entering CRM back then. And since then, we've been kind of doing some very cool work. And today, when I sit at WebEngage, the kind of power the platform provides is one part of it. But the problem statement I hear from a lot of our customers, and Bharat is one of them, in fact, is the availability of people who genuinely understand the building blocks, the what, how, and whatever of it is a problem area. Just about all of these guys are hiring. They're paying well. Those numbers in terms of the number of years you're talking about can actually be squeezed into a smaller time frame if you do a good job. So I grew from somebody who didn't know CRM to be a global head of CRM in about, 8 months? That was my switch from, that end of the spectrum to this end of the spectrum. So the point is, if you guys are interested in making a very interesting career path right now, look at performance marketing over the last 20 years. It's matured. There is enough and more people who understand that subject. So, even if you were to look at a great career path there, you might find people asking you questions about how much budget you've dealt with, what level of optimization you've worked. But if you switch your careers to a CRM career path where you understand this stuff, and there is obviously a merit in the left and the right brain side of things to be the same person. It's not easy to do both sides, but if you're able to pull that off, the demand is huge and the money is great, which then basically means that what are you waiting for, and why aren't you switching to a CRM career or getting more aggressive with your growth path? Very simply, yeah. So that's where we wanted to have this conversation. We wanted to understand from people as to where their limitations lie on trying to do better jobs at CRM or at retention. Obviously, there's a difference in these two terms that Bharat has already spoken about. So, across whatever we have seen so far, do you guys have any questions? I heard there are a bunch of people in retention already. There are probably some people who want to consider switching into retention, because somebody from a data background who understands funnels, who understands numbers, has somewhat of a head start. Because if you've not started with CRM in the first couple of years, but you understand funnels, it gets you a head start, right? So if you have questions about any of the content that's been so far shared, we would love to address those. I believe there's a massive demand for good retention professionals. And if you are one, and if you've not been able to find a great opportunity, please just ping me on LinkedIn. Today evening, in fact, we're doing this award ceremony for retention marketing 30 under 30. You will see a bunch of fantastic people. I'm guessing some of them might be here already because we're flying everyone in, putting them up in a 5-star location to just make sure everybody understand and appreciate it. This is an interesting career path to have. Becomes an inspiration for more people to consider going that path. Yeah, so that's where we are, and that's why this conversation. I figure we're about time when Bharat was supposed to make an entry. Unfortunately, he just texted that he's not feeling well. He was here last night. We had a great chat. He was supposed to be here today, but he's not able to make it. I'm still hoping he'll be able to drop by the evening, so people who want to meet him can for sure do this. Incidentally, with WebHub and Growth School, we're doing a cohort-based program, most likely launching next quarter, where we would do this in a much more intensive fashion. So do watch out for that content to come from either me or Gaurav or WebHub and Growth School. So all of that can happen. What we are trying to also do is go through a bunch of interview questions. So if any of you has the enthu and patience to probably volunteer as a mock interview candidate, be assured we won't mock you. We just want to make sure you understand what a great answer might look like. So maybe one of us will ask the question and you can answer from your perspective, and then probably Bharat, given that he's done the insane number of interviews he's done, will tell you how to hack that out. Of course, there's a short-term hack you can do in 5 minutes, but obviously there's a lot of underlying work that has to happen before this hack is useful. So should we do that? Is anybody good to volunteer for this? Too scared? Yeah? Come on, join us.
I'll also shamelessly plug in. We are also hiring, so you guys can meet me.
Exactly, right? Oh, by the way, if any of you qualify his interview, by the end of the day, I'll get you 2 offers. One for him and one competing, so that you get into a bidding war, right? So you'll run the questions, maybe?
Yeah.
So you'll run the right answer after this, okay? I'm hoping you're prepared.
I am. Yeah. So, cool. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hello, so I'm Sashwat and I had content marketing at Foreign Admits. And
Sorry, at?
Foreign Admits, it's a study abroad consultancy, and I have been into retention in past few months. Before that, I was completely into acquisition. So
Okay, perfect. Great candidate. So again, what were you, if you could just spend 2 minutes on, what were you doing in acquisition and how did you make the switch to retention? And what have been you've been doing in the last 3 months?
So acquisition in our industry, it's more about performance marketing and referral, because there's a lot of lead crunch since the TG is only close to roughly to 1 million in one education cycle, right? So the only thing we can make it and beat the giant gorillas is we have good retention. Once they come to the platform, they should fall in love with the platform, so that because the sales cycle is more than a year long. So if they start preparing for more than a year, then they can go for the next education year. So we figured out that our performance marketing costs, the ROAS was going lower and lower, and we're spending more. So we thought some of us might move to retention and solve that problem. So in terms of that, now it's more gamified, it's more fun. So that's why we are focusing on.
Okay. And when you say it's more fun, what part of that is fun?
Okay. So when we say more fun is like, so one of the thing about retention is anybody who comes from the platform, we first of all make sure that you don't have to pay anything. It's going to be an exclusive platform, and we created like some 14 criteria, made them feel privileged, like you are like top 1% club. And we made sure it doesn't go out in the public and they remain, like in a private community server and everything. So then they felt more exclusive. Those people receive different notifications than the people who just join directly and don't make it to the exclusive club. So now when they are getting these exclusive benefits, we are trying to build a habit out of them to be engaging with us on a regular basis, so that we don't lose them till the next education cycle where they actually apply for the admissions.
Okay. And what are the products that you're selling current, like the main top or 3 products?
First of all, it would be counseling, like the premium counseling mentorship which you need for study abroad. Second of all would be, I think, the education loans, and third would be a job board in every leading country out there. So if you have done your education abroad, then a lot of people face this issue that don't find good jobs. So we make sure that they network well and they find a good job there.
Okay. So, and what are the North Star metric that you're aiming to improve? What is the one key KPI?
One key KPI is that person should have at least 3 touch points in a day after the onboarding journey is complete till we get the sales done. So that's the NSM which are working towards right now, and we are roughly around 20-30 touch points in a month, but we want to make it like till 100 as of now.
Okay. And give me an example of a touch point, please.
So give me an example of a touch point. For example, in the same community, we have a mentor from university coming in, and we just popped into these exclusive people that your SOP might be reviewed by somebody from Harvard in the next 30 minutes, and we want them to interact. So either they can fill the form, they can come to the video call, or they can just pop in their questions, which might be answered to them later, personalized on their email and so on. So take an operation and we do that every day just to make sure that we don't lose them, right? So that's how we define touch points as of now.
Okay. And what all steps do I need to take in the first 1 day or 2 days to be a part of that cohort? And how many steps?
Okay. So so the first, you have to basically fill a form, because with that 14 criteria, that's an automated form. As soon as you fill the form, you undergo a WhatsApp funnel rather than an email funnel. It's like completely automated WhatsApp chatbot. You interact with it. So then you will have a video call with one of our team members. Will basically verify that what you're claiming is correct, and then in 48 hours you'll be part of the cohort.
Okay. And when you say 14 different metrics, am I manually to enter all these 14, or there is some?
It's 1 out of
auto-population?
14. You can
Okay.
be 1 out of the 14 to enter into the community.
Okay. Okay. Got it. And again, as you said, you're trying to move from 2 touch points or 3 touch points in a day to, from 2 to 3 to 100 touch points in a month.
Yeah.
What are some of the steps taken to improve that number?
So one thing which we know is, one major thing which we noticed is the dwell time of our customers was very bad in the afternoon. And we always thought, because the whole team was working between 10 to 7 and we're not completely automated, so we're thinking like, the dwell time is basically low. But now we understand most of the TG are working professionals or in the like final year of their education. So the dwell time varies between 6 to 9. So automated push notifications according to cohorts at 6 to 9 has given us immense growth in the first month. Like we were at like 5-10 touch points, then we reached 20 to 30 touch points by this month. So we are planning to scale that even more.
Okay. And what is the rationale behind it being 20 or 30 or 3 in a day? Like how did you arrive at that number?
So the 2 and 3, to be very honest, the rationale is not out of market research, it's out of competitive research. So there are competitions in the market. When we try to hack into we did a complete product teardown of all the competitors and people who are the 10 gorillas. So we have figured it out that they have more than 150 touch points in a month in terms of this community-based events, web notifications, offers, or just their onboarding journey and everything. So from there, we figured out we need to be somewhere around that number, at least to be competing. As of now, it's competitive research, basically.
If you're able to achieve the same result in 80 touch points or 70, why go to 100 then?
Yes, so that is something we are, as I said, I am 2 months into this, I haven't figured it out. If I figure it out in 80, it's awesome. I get a hike.
Yeah, because eventually putting in some money, some effort, some people, resources, etc., to move from 80 to 100 also, right?
Exactly. So if we, by revenue wise, if we achieve the same targets with less number of touch points also, that means we have done a much better job than what the market is doing right now in this space.
Okay, and
So-
is all of this led from a CRM standpoint, or there are some in-product interventions that have also been done?
Lot of product interventions.
Okay,
There are a lot of
give me one example.
So we are a complete. So we were using the complete Zoho suite, and then we went to Gupshup for that WhatsApp API funnel. Then we had SendPulse for some time before the WebEngage startup program, of course. Then we had SendPulse. So it was like a combination of 10-12 tools. And yeah, it was not like 40 pushes for each cohort, but at least 10 for sure for every dashboard.
Wow,
So
at least 10
at least 10.
in how much time?
So we would do that like in 3 to 4 working days, sleepless nights,
Okay.
like 10
So
pushes.
one in the evening, one in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Could it be 7? Could it be 6?
It could be, but yeah, 6. But the thing is, we are not getting enough results out of 6 or 7, so we are pushing towards 10. But if you could get better results at 6, then
Yeah,
nothing like
yeah.
it.
So if someone is, let's say, 2-3 years in doing this job, that is one of the make or break questions in terms of why 10, why 100, why 80, why 70, why 2 in a day. Have they done any day-based cohorting? Have they done any frequency-based cohorting? People who are interacting, are people even interacting with your communication, product, etc.? So that would be a make or break question for me. Because if you're doing this for 2 or 3 years and you're still chasing the same North Star metric, then there is something wrong, or the business is not progressing. Or if you're still sending 10 notifications a day from day 1 to year 3, then there's something wrong. Again, how often do you talk to your customers or consumers?
So I talk to 3 customers daily. So that's like a ritual. We
Okay.
have the whole team of retention, 3 customers daily, and we have surveys like every week we have one like huge survey towards all the already existing customers and as well as like the customers who are in the pipeline or in the pre-sales.
Okay, so if someone tells me talking to customers, 3 customers a day, almost 50% of the interview is done, because that is a very, very hard skill right now to even think about. Uh, and when you say you're talking to customers, how do you also figure out a way that this is a live issue? What is the process to solve a live issue or identify a live issue in the first place?
Yes. So for us, for me, the biggest make or break in this is in especially our industry, they're not investing the 50,000 for the counseling. They're probably investing 50 lakhs for the next educational year. So I need to build a trust with them that if you're spending that 50 lakhs in the next year, you're spending it with the right person and they don't feel spammy. And as we said, the reference thing that has happened with us a lot of times. Like we have sent something, it misinterpreted in a way, or we didn't get response. So always make sure that they trust the platform in terms of what they want. So if
But
it's just
when you say trust, sorry,
Yeah.
trust again will be built at every customer touch point. Like trust is not a one-time thing.
Exactly.
How are you also ensuring that from a customer care when that person calls up, the potential consumer or the current consumer, how is that built in the different touch points that you have with the consumer?
Yes. So one touch point. So first is when they get into the funnel, we had a really fun and quirky funnel. It didn't work out for a month, and the retention was bad. And we figured out when somebody wants to invest 50 lakhs, they don't want to hear jokes. They don't want to hear jokes. And I was personally in the acquisition, so I was a creative guy. I was like, yes, let's push more Tarak Mehta, let's push more this, let's push more Game of Thrones. Nothing worked out because they are looking at 50 lakhs in 6 months. So in our industry, then I figured that's not going to work out. Second thing, one more touch point is whenever we want to show them like one biggest touch point in this industry is we have to show them a good testimonial so that they believe it because the size is really lower. Even in testimonial, what they want to say is the real person. Not like we fly in the guy to our office, do a nice shoot and that testimonial, it feels spammy. So we started reaching out to older customers and getting their testimonials. Be as raw and real as you can. We also received some good reviews, some bad reviews. But the moment we went into real, like not filtering it and not making it an anecdote, the retention has increased. Because now they're also listening to the stories. So the storytelling. So they also know like what services or we provide. That's something they need to do from their end as well. So that together it's on a success journey. That's the second. Third major touch point is that don't spam them with emails. That's a very big issue. Because now what we feel is, okay, now they're serious customers, they're not into jokes and the need is proof. We feel like अब इनको email से एकदम validate कराते हैं. Send them tons of data, send them tons of figures, you can do this, you can do that. Again, something which they feel we are pushing too hard. So most of the customers said, for a 50 lakhs decision, I might take the decision in 3 weeks. They have to probably consult with their parents or somebody who's the decision maker. Till they have that conversation with their decision maker, we make sure they only get 2 or 3 touch points from the sales side in terms of a cold call. Don't bombard them with call. Earlier, we had like 5 calls in a week schedule and it was all in an automated fashion. So that had to be changed. So these are the some touch points we are trying to solve.
That's a great answer, and I think that's that's one key learning from a gaming standpoint also, because since we are in real money gaming and not just casual gaming, finance or fintech becomes a very key aspect of it all. So, is my money being handled correctly? Is my wallet is putting money in your wallet safe, etc., etc. So, when we shot with people at fancy locations, we got them to a 5-star, short testimonials with them. They actually didn't work. And when we asked them to send a self-shot video, which is grainy, the sound is not great, there's no makeup, no lighting, etc. Those videos did very, very, very well for us. So I think from a trust building standpoint, that also counterintuitively works, I would say. Cool. Ankur, if you have any questions.
Can I ask a few questions as well?
Yeah,
sure.
What percentage of all the outbound communication that you're sending is automated? Are you still doing mass blast, for instance, for anything?
No, roughly around 25-30% would be automated.
30 in 70 years?
70 is manual.
Mass blast.
We are shifting to WebEngage.
No, from a content point of view, it's a one content to everybody, or is it?
No. So there are cohorts,
Hmm.
but the number of cohorts currently is divided into countries and the target
There
sources.
is segmentation, but not automation.
Yes, there's segmentation, no automation.
What would you say about Junglee right now? What percentage of your communication is automated?
I would say, yeah. So almost 70 to 80% of the communication is automated right now. There is one notification that is, am I audible? Yeah. So there is one notification which is, let's say, bonus of the day or something like that, offer of the day, etc., which is still not sent to all, which is sent at an age base. So we have different cohorts every day. So there is no mass notification that goes out ever.
So there is automation. There's segmentation.
There's segmentation and
80,
there is
90%
automation. Yeah.
Exactly.
There is 80-90% automation in terms of journeys. I would say 100%. It's not even 80-90. And even if we have to send a mass blast, that is cohorted to at least 10 or 12 cohorts in a day. So
the reason I asked that question is because to really learn and understand how to build this automation out is nearly necessary / imperative / mandatory if you want to scale personalization or segmentation. Because like he was talking about, we had 40 countries of operation with some 20 time zones and whatever number of languages. And there was somebody who's filling up an Excel checkbox. For this country, this campaign is live. Now imagine doing it for 40 countries and, whatever the number of campaigns are. And we were paying a decent amount of salary to some of these guys at least. And my office was in Berlin, of course. So there was a Spanish guy doing this. So you'll see he'll come in the morning, go in the afternoon for a little break, for a smoke or whatever. By the evening, he would have filled up one column. So by the end of those 18 months, 100% of communication from Foodpanda was automated. And across mobile notifications, across SMS, across emails, and highly personalized as well, because food is, when I started out at Foodpanda, the one message we would send to all of India, the only message you can send to all of India is Domino's buy one, get one, right? And it gave us a result which gave a spike that in the next 5 minutes, my CTO was standing next to me. Foodpanda Global CRM. You probably were a part of that experience as well, right? So the point is, by the end of it, now if you're sitting in, let's say, Koramangala and Bangalore, and you have a history of probably ordering between 300 to 400 rupee worth of food at a lunchtime from a Chinese restaurant, the message that you're going to get will actually incorporate all of these data points. Now, what surprises me today, and probably there'll be a session in personalization that would have happened or would be happening, is if you look at the anatomy of a lot of messaging that still gets done, it's somebody sitting and driving a very quick, quirky, clever message, mass blast to everybody. That's the problem area that I'm talking about.
So the example that Ankur is giving is, so you'd get 3 messages: top rated restaurant in Koramangala,
top
reviewed restaurant in Koramangala, and here is a restaurant that has gotten. Here's a new restaurant in Koramangala.
So there's a bunch of these ideas that we put together, and it was automated, right? So the moment there's a new restaurant that will get added to the system, a bunch of people within that radius will automatically get notified there's a new restaurant in town. If there's a restaurant which has touched 50 positive ratings, then people will be alerted. Now imagine Koramangala is a little location, right? So in India, you have a few hundred of these. And if I'm from buy one, get one at Domino's to a message which is exactly local, imagine the click-through rate impact. 4 to 10x. That's the order of magnitude we're talking about. So all I'm saying is, from a skill building perspective, if you were to really chase this profession, to understand automation and scaling is going to be important, which is why I was trying to bring this up, because he didn't ask it so far. So there's a soft side of understanding the customer and all of that, but the hard skill is about designing this automation. The hard skill is about understanding how to unify data, because you have insane amount of different data sources. Very simply put, you will have the transactional data. Most of you guys would have that, order history at item level. Behavior data, some of you might be tracking the website clicks, the pages visited, the time spent, and all of that. You might not be unifying them into a score or a propensity or an affinity, but you at least have the data. Very simple campaign, abandoned cart, everybody does, right? But you have the cousins of abandoned cart, like abandoned browse. I spent 5 minutes looking at a pair of shoes on, whatever site, and I didn't conclude. Imagine compared to a normal mass blast email, the conversion rate of this email, substantially better. The sharper you get with your real-time behavior, and I'm sure gaming industry does a lot of in-product interventions when you know that if somebody's come from Facebook clicking this campaign and he's bought a first transaction of, let's say, 300 rupees, likelihood of coming back is super low. So tempt him right now with a cashback in his wallet instantly. It'll happen in this session, in the moment now. So you're not waiting for him to go and then try to bring him back. You're talking to him right now. So this is all going to boil down to how will you understand the way to unify data, because you want to do one such campaign, you need to know which channel is coming from, what is this order value, how does this data all come together in that instant to give you that outcome. So when you want to become a retention leader, you'll have to process through all of this very fast. And if you're able to do it, the money is not a bar anymore. So that's where if you want to build out a career in retention, there's a great time to be here. Because one of the slides I think you mentioned was, if you look at the recent IPOs, वो अपना time आएगा वाला angle has now become अपना time आ गया. We've seen it happen over the last several years. Rocket had a very interesting journey in India, but it came to an end. I was on the inside of blowing millions of dollars, and we know that we're not as effective, or I would say as focused on the subject of retention as I would want it to be. So in 18 months, I was heading global CRM, set up everything, I was bored. So I got out. The point was, from then to now, if you look at the world has evolved in terms of the number of digital companies that are there, consumer tech startups that are there, it's huge. And by the evening, you'd probably have about 50 odd D2C founders downstairs who all want to understand retention better, who all want to build teams that can do retention better. So by all means, think about this career as a serious path, and yeah, it should work out well for you.
Yeah. And just a big
Any
round of
questions?
applause for him.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you so much.
Some good work there.
Yeah.
Questions, anybody?
Any questions?
Please.
Hello. Hi everyone. My question is like basically, if we are like a founder bootstrapped company, we don't have a lot of money to hire someone who is like super efficient, and I have hired like a lot of interns, like 40-45 interns, like every 2-3 months. Like I get someone on board, I teach them. It takes a lot of time training them, teaching them, and again when they leave, like we have to train another new person, right? Like how do we get like someone who is like super effective and at like beginning stage, right? Like
Yeah.
what?
So I think I'll put me in your shoes and I'll think about how would I structure a retention team. Let's say one, I would let's say there are no experienced guys available. Let's say there are no 5+ or 3+ guys available because they're all at 30, 40, 50 lakh rupees. And you have, so I'd hire, first the hiring that I do is from schools or colleges that I know are numbers heavy in their learning, or the people that come through those colleges have a decent bent of mind when it comes to numbers. That is the first filter that I'll put. Second, I think more from a retention standpoint, if you don't, I would have a good combination of, let's say 3 people, I would keep it 3 as interns, 3 or 4. If you've hired 50 interns, that is also a great achievement in itself. Right now, I am not able to hire 40-50 interns, to be very honest. I'd keep one person, again, who's creatively very sharp. That person could help me in acquisition creatives as well as in retention creatives and copies, etc. I'd keep one person who at least has a working knowledge of SQL. That is the minimum that I do. If I have to pay a couple of lakh rupees more, I would do that, so that that person can help me in cohorting overall at a company and set up that base of also getting data as well as, and there are a lot of low-code tools available to help you in getting raw data from an Athena or an Amazon AWS and just put it in a visually decent format so that you can take action on it. Third, I would take someone who's in the middle of both of them, which is the hardest skill to have, and that is a role that I would play in the beginning, but then slowly train 2 or 3 people to it. And if you're able to show them the graph, the growth journey in the first 6 months and the next 1 year, I think that is how I would go about it. But what is the challenge that you're facing? Are you not getting good people, or the good people not retaining?
Yeah, see, I'm able to attract good people, but retaining them is like becoming difficult, right? Like what we have.
Are you open to see, as a founder, there is a story that you need, there is a vision that you need to tell. One, are you able to sell the vision properly? Two, are you able to then give tangible value of that vision? That if we go here and this is what your contribution, this is what your ESOP is worth, this is what your salary would go to. If you can give them a target,
Yeah.
I'm sure there would be someone who, I was someone at some point of time there, listening to a founder, buying into the growth story. So I'm sure there would be some people who would be interested in that. But if you're open to giving ESOPs on this and that, etc., I'm sure that problem should get solved.
Thank you.